What's going on, everyone? That's just like a course worth of material of some stuff I worked out over the classic standard by Duke Ellington, Satin Doll. I'm sure some of you guys could hear it. And, you can call this like an etude, contrafact, whatever. Originally, I was working on this tune last week, and, like, people play this tune different kinds of ways, and I also think it's the type of tune that, like, if you're a young person, like, first learning jazz, or, you're just new to jazz, like, this is the kind of tune that you may kind of think is maybe a little corny or outdated and old-fashioned these days, but, you know, the real old cats, like, really know, like, this is a great tune, and, it's great for swinging, and, you should play this tune. But anyway, typically it's played, at a classic medium tempo swing, and, obviously, the eighth note, phrases in jazz language melodically is important. You want to know how to, swing your eighth notes. But at a tempo like this, once you get comfortable doing that, if you're just doing that and you're maybe not filling up, the lines with maybe some faster, more dense stuff, it can maybe sound a little boring, or, just like, it's kind of hard to explain, but, just like on and on. If you're phrasing good and you have real statements to make and you're leaving space, then it could still sound great. But if you just kind of get into this flow of like constant lines, the eighth notes, you may want to explore some more stuff. So 16th notes, you may start to hear faster lines, but if they're not really worked out, or you haven't, prepared that stuff, it could be hard for them to connect. So, I'm rambling right now, but this was a great, reason to work out some 16th note lines over a tune like this. So that's what I originally did. I just want to add a few quick things that I forgot to point out, while getting lost within the travels of my rambles. But as far as the 16th note lines go, and working some stuff out, 16th notes obviously are, in like a duple kind of meter. They're basically the same thing as eighth notes, but just twice as fast. So, you may think like, hey, if I work on my eighth note lines, I can just use the same stuff, but play them as 16th notes. And that's fair, but one thing you gotta be aware of is, the harmonic rhythm of everything is gonna be half as long. So it's like if you have an eighth note phrase or something that lasts a bar, just for example, it's only gonna last a half a bar. So, you could use it, but you gotta be aware of that. And sometimes your ideas for eighth notes may not stretch long enough. So, if you need a reason to work out some 16th note lines, there you go. And also, just on that topic, because they are faster, the lines are more dense, I guess more reminiscent of a bebop type of thing. A lot of people describe bebop as fast tempos, and there certainly are fast bebop tunes, but I think a more sort of all-encompassing way of thinking about bebop phrasing a lot of times is it's more dense rhythms, because you could play dense 30-second notes on a ballad. It's not a fast tempo, right? But if you're playing dense rhythms, you don't have to always worry about like playing the hippest stuff. If I were to just show you one line, like in the second A section when I started playing the lines, over like a D minor 7, the 2 chord, goes 1, 2, 3, 4, like the 2-5, right? So I come in on beat 2, right on the downbeat with 16th notes. It's like 1E and a 2E. Right, that's the line. Slow down. I mean, who knows what you think of it, but there's not really much interesting stuff conceptually or harmonically going on there, in my opinion. Except for this. Like putting an E minor triad at the top, like an upper extension. But other than that, it's pretty standard stuff, especially by today's standards of jazz education and what's, put out there. So you don't have to always worry about like playing the hippest stuff. You just have to worry about playing stuff that is correct and, fits within the form and makes sense and everything lands right, all right? So hopefully you get the point. I added some chords, the first thing I did was like the second A section, but I added some voicings, did some stuff that's actually pretty interesting in the bridge, the end of the first or second A, some cool arpeggio ideas. To be honest, I can probably make a whole video about that, just some cool harmonic concepts. But, I figured I would just present this to you guys, hopefully inspire you. There'll be a PDF if you want to check it out. It has the notation tabs, the harmonic labels, and all that. And you know, I like putting this stuff out for anyone who's interested, because like I say, it's a lot. I think sometimes people are afraid of like working on preconceived stuff because they think it's about improvisation, and it is. And I said a lot of this in my other eighth note etude video recently, but you know, think about this. Like, I intentionally played this in the beginning. I didn't count in the tempo. I didn't do this with a backing track. You know, nothing supporting me, and hopefully, I mean, these are my intentions, I could, you know, play my material in a way where you can clearly hear the time, the form, you know, if you know the tune, you can recognize all of it, you know, and it's not like I'm still not interested in, you know, taking individual components of this and really exploring them and trying to work them into my improv, of course. And that's what I said, there's actually some cool stuff in this. I'm not going to talk about it, but if there's any particular parts that interest you, you know, put it in the comments, because like I've said before, I don't need to talk about this stuff for myself, but if I get a response, I'm happy to, you know, talk about any of this. But think about that, you know, it's like, I might practice stuff like this, like I'll start with a slow tempo, get comfortable, build it up, and even though I have a whole course worth of stuff right now, maybe I'll take like one A section of it and like, you know, just practice that, but like I'll kind of alternate between that and like improvisation, you know, and just getting reps, so this way, if I make a mistake, you know, you don't want to make a mistake or keep making the same mistakes, but you're kind of mixing it with your improv. You just want to get used to playing these things and having them connect and be able to actually do this stuff on the guitar. All right, so I don't know why I feel the need to always justify this, but, you know, on the internet, you know, you get a lot of echo chambers of, you know, interesting opinions, so who knows, but I'll just leave it there. All right, so, you know, let me know what you guys think. If you like the video, you know, support me, give the video a like, subscribe to the channel, consider becoming a contributor to Patreon, where you'll get all the PDFs on this channel for only $5 a month, so it's a great deal. I'm always putting out quality PDFs, I think, and if you're interested in lessons, you know, hit me up, info's in the description, and anything else, just let me know. I'm curious to see what you think, so I'll leave it there, and have a good day.